Thanks for joining us today. This video is going to cover Indiana 2024 fall tax lien auctions, specifically the treasurer sales, which you can see kind of splashed on the map here. There's a lot of yellow going on. Indianapolis, we're looking at a lot of other counties, especially up in Lake County near Chicago. So we're going to browse through what's available in these auctions this year. And we'll also talk through how the auctions work, where to find the properties, where to bid, and some big time savers that will help you get through. There's like 30,000 liens to research in a short time. So we're going to help you with some ways to get to the bottom of it, find the liens on the properties that meet your strategies, and really just avoid all the things that are going to waste your time. So let's jump right to it. And we're going to talk first about these auction seasons in Indiana, because there are several seasons and several different products they're selling. So let's talk about tax liens first and the spring commissioner sales. Those happen kind of end of January, early May, and anywhere in between. And today, of course, we're focused on the fall treasurer sales, which are coming up very soon. Those are also tax liens that happen in really August to October. Sometimes there's a few auctions earlier or later, but in general, that's kind of the window we're looking at. And these are not to be confused with all the other auctions that you might hear about in Indiana. They do have sheriff sales, they do have foreclosure sales, and they have a few tax deed sales occasionally. Some counties hold tax deed sales. Sheriff sales and foreclosure sales are much more common, happening monthly, sometimes even more frequently in some counties than once a month. So again, we're going to talk about fall treasurer sales. That's timely and really one of the things you should know about these fall sales is that this is the first chance to buy tax liens on newly delinquent property, meaning once taxes are due earlier in the year, they're established as delinquent and go to this sale first. This is the first chance you have to buy a lien on these properties in the fall. When you see the spring sales, even though those were earlier in the year, those were the leftovers from the years before. So previous auction years, anything left over would roll into the spring commissioner sales. And not every county has commissioner sales every year. Some just don't have enough to make it worth doing, and some just don't have leftovers. So again, in the spring, you get a few counties, maybe half or less, that do spring commissioner sales. And then in the fall, you get almost every county does the treasurer sales. All right, so moving on, let's talk about how the auctions work. Again, we talked about when we talk about fall auctions, they can be called treasurer sales. Sometimes they're referred to as standard tax sale, and it's that first chance to buy. And remember, the leftovers that go to the spring sales, the commissioner sales, since those were the leftovers, there's not any OTC opportunity. That's what I'm really getting at here is over-the-counter opportunities are pretty popular in states with leftovers, except Indiana, they choose to sell property at auction only. We've not seen anything over-the-counter yet, and we've been looking for a long time. The auction format is premium bid. It's just the standard auction format that you would always imagine. You would start at an opening bid and bid up. That's all it means. The highest bidder wins. That is the premium bid. The redemption period on these fall auctions is 1 year, but you can start this foreclosure proceedings within 9 months of your tax sale. So you can get the process started, but you don't get a tax deed really until that 1 year mark. In contrast, those spring sales where you're shopping the leftovers, these are the repeats, the ones that didn't sell at previous auctions, those have a 120-day redemption, mainly because they're just more urgently trying to get rid of those properties, I guess you'd say. When we're talking about the first chance in the fall, they're happy to have a 1 year redemption. They're not in that much of a rush to get the tax revenue or really get the properties moving. But to incentivize you to buy the leftovers in the spring, they add that 120-day redemption. The interest rate ranges from 10 to 15% depending on when the owner redeems, if they redeem. If the owner tries to redeem in the first 6 months, it's a 10%, and it's penalty interest, which is based on penalty based instead of a prorated accrual. What that means is a prorated accrual, like if you had a 12% lien, 12% per year, a prorated accrual would pay out 1% per month. If the owner redeemed at 6 months, you would get 6%. At 9 months, you get 9%. It's prorated based on how much time has passed. A penalty based, if the owner redeems in 1 day or 4 months or whatever, it's going to be 10%. And then after that, 15% after the 6 month period. So if they, depending on how long the owner waits, you get kind of a chunk of interest instead of a prorated accrual over time. Let's talk about where these auctions are held, and we're also going to talk about where they're advertised because it's not exactly the same thing. The 2/3 of these auctions are going to be in person, which means the other third are going to be split across ZeusAuction.com and GovEase.com for the online auctions. And like I said, the auction advertisements don't necessarily follow where the auctions occur. What I mean is SRI Services, they do publish most of the auction advertisements. These are going to be the Zeus ones and some of the in-person auctions, most of the in-person auctions as well. But you're going to find some of the online auctions like GovEase, they're going to be published on GovEase. That's going to be 2 auctions, Marion and Allen counties. But we also have some of the in-person auctions advertised by a site called GUTS. And we have a link here for that. I'll put these links in the video description just for your reference. But the advertisements are split across these different locations. That's just a little distinction there to make. Let's talk about these fall auctions at a glance and what's in them. We're going to estimate this auction value around $1.3 billion. I say estimate because we're still waiting on a few of these auctions to get released. It's an odd season where the first couple auctions already happened, but some of the auctions have not even been advertised yet for the season. So we're just making this video at the best time we figured we could make it early in the season. We're going to estimate total delinquent taxes at $210 million plus, which means it's going to be higher than that once all the auctions release. We'd estimate about 30,000 tax liens once the dust settles and we have everything in place. And we're looking at a pretty consistent figure of 46% of the properties have structures. So it's almost 50-50 properties that are land only and properties with structures. If we're looking at the top counties in Indiana to buy just by sheer supply of liens, the Lake County they originally advertised over 11,000 liens. That was just by far and away the largest county. Followed by Marion, which this Indianapolis area, just over 2,000 liens in their first advertisement. And the list goes on. It drops. By the time you get to the 10th county, you're at just 400 liens in that auction. So it's kind of a steep drop off. Those first 6 counties really have the bulk of the properties that you're going to see. You can read through these numbers on your own. If you want to see them in close, just pause the video. I will point out that the auction date for St. Joseph is in red because it is past. Again, if a couple auctions have already happened, we had to make this video as early as we could with as much data as we could. But even this morning an auction was released, so we had to just kind of snap the line today. The rest of these auction dates are in the future through September, October. The locations are an interesting thing to add. You'll see 6 out of the 10 are online and then 4 in person. So the larger counties in general, by about 60% of them in the top 10 are online. So that's a great overview of what's in these auctions. What we're going to do now is really just dig in and start to look at where the auctions are advertised, where do you register, and then how do you save time researching between these 30,000 liens and figure out what to buy. So we'll start, again, these links will be in the video description. SRI Services is the first source. They have the most auction advertisements. You can see the Indiana tax sales. Now this is tricky. On their website, it's hard to distinguish between these sales. They have tax sale, certificate sale, and tax lien sale as 3 different things. A lot of times those are synonymous. In this case, we want the tax sale option. So the other ones just don't have any results the way they carve this out. I'm looking basically at the tax sales here. You can see the location listed. A lot of these are in person. Here we see Lake over here on the right side is on Zeus Auction. But this is where you'll find some basic information on the auction, and then you can also drill in and view properties and see the properties in the auction. And there's a few hundred of these. We can click on one and get a little more detail about the minimum bid is the interesting piece of information that you get when you click that. And so this is a good start if you were going to research properties. There's not enough here to make a decision or really know in detail, but we know the address and the minimum bid, which gives you what you need if you wanted to go look it up one property at a time. Zeus Auction, I mentioned, it's the counterpart to SRI in this case. They handle the registrations and some of the actual auctions online. So this is Zeus Auction. Again, very similar to SRI. You need to create a free account to go look through their properties and look through their auctions. Here is the GUTS site I mentioned, GUTS. And their auction advertisements are a little different. You're going to need to click on this advertising list button, and you get a PDF kind of spreadsheet looking table. This is going to give you enough information to start your research, including the minimum bid is very important. And you can go look these properties up one at a time and research them if you have time to do that. GovEase is another one. This is going to be strange because they've unofficially announced one of the counties, Allen County. Let's click tax sale auctions. So while we can filter by state and everything, if we go to Indiana, we only see Marion right now, even though the email advertisement came out. It's just not updated on their site yet. They're running a little behind, I guess. But you can still, even though the auction is not announced with a date, you can still view the auctions off the homepage. Click on Indiana. So you see Allen and Marion now. And there's the Allen properties right in front of you. You can get a little detail here and then click on the number and get some more detail. There's not a ton going on here, but enough to see who the owner is and the physical address of the property. So that's a start. And so, of course, we're going to switch over now and talk about Parcel Fair. This is where we put all those auctions in one place on the calendar. So 3 auctions in August have completed, and now we're in September with the next chunk of auctions. You see in-person or online indicators for each auction to tell you which one it is, and the number of parcels as well and the date. So like we can see that Lake County has over 10,000 available parcels now. It's dropped from 11,000 like we mentioned earlier because of redemptions, but this really lets you browse the auction catalog and see, this county has 41 or this county only has 3 properties. Maybe I don't want to shop there. Maybe I do. I don't know. And this is really your place to plan. If you're able to go in person, then it gives you a whole different perspective on this. If you're stuck with online only, then it really does narrow your options down. So again, just browsing through here, let's take a look. I'm going to just jump to one of my maps here, and we're going to talk about Allen County. That's Fort Wayne, and that's one that is on GovEase. But I've pulled the properties up on Parcel Fair on the map, 433, and what I'm looking at here is filters. If I want to filter this down, I could do improvements, and that gives me 319. So like 3/4 of them have improvements. I could do vacant land and do something like a minimum of 5 acres. Nothing with over 5 acres. Let's give it a 1 acre minimum. Okay, so not a lot of acreage in this auction. 4 properties with over an acre. So this is an example. I'm going to switch over to satellite. This is just a couple acre property here between some houses. So that's they get you started if you were looking at that property. And so that's basically how you would filter the list here. I'm just going to click go and pick the, let's just take this one. This is some kind of warehouse looking building. I'm going to show you the property report here. And we have the valuations broken out between the land and the improvements. And you can see there is 1 tax lien available. It's a $5,000 roughly bid. And just moving down, this is important. The purchase options block is where you would click to see where and when the auction is. This will guide you through the registration if you click the blue button here, the information on the tax sale and how it works, the yellow button, and then the list itself is the green button. So important buttons to take you where you need to go if this is the auction that you want to bid in. One last piece of the puzzle here. There's address details for the owner and for the parcel. Plus, on the right side, research links give you a breakdown of county sources you can actually click on and view the property card for that property on the county site. So that's just helpful if you want to continue your research beyond what we show in Parcel Fair. There's sometimes the counties get into some very unique information here that's just nice to see. So let's switch counties and let's jump over to Lake County. All right, let me zoom out. I don't know why that was zoomed in. Lake County, top northwestern corner of the state near Chicago. And right now we're unfiltered. We're looking at 10,286 properties. So kind of helicopter mode viewing in here, we can just see in the city there are a ton of lots, a ton of houses to choose from here. And this is one of the auctions where you really could just go down the street and browse like this. You can see roof damage on a house next to a house that looks much nicer. And so let's click on the one that looks nicer and go to the full details. I'm going to open the panorama view on the right side because we saw that house with the roof damage. I want to check out the roof on this house as well. So I'm going to need to drive my car just a little bit. And looking at the property is actually in pretty good condition from what I'm seeing. So I'm not too worried about, as far as tax properties go, that actually looks really good. Neighborhood, not too bad, just looking around. So going up and down the street, we can see, again, whatever you want to look at in the neighborhood. But back to the map, let's go up here. And what we're actually able to do is see properties nearby as well that some of these are vacant lots right here. Some of them have rooftops, just depends on what you're looking for. On the right side, we can scroll through and take a look, but you're not going to go through 10,000 properties by scrolling. So let's jump to the filters again, and let's do something a little more interesting. I'm going to, first of all, filter by improvements, which takes us down to 2,600 properties. That's usually where I start with a filter. Is if you know that you want vacant land or improvements, this will give me just structures if I click improvements. Now I'm going to put a minimum valuation of $50,000. That takes us down to 940. So that's important because maybe I have a threshold for like a rental property I'm trying to buy, and I want to make sure the valuation is at a certain range. I could even put a $100,000 maximum on it. That knocks out another 400 properties and gets me what could be my strategy range there. If I wanted to filter by taxes owed, I might put a maximum of like $4,000 to make sure I'm not going to blow my budget. I don't want to start having an opening bid that's over $4,000 maybe. And we've already talked about the acreage filter. If you really want to split hairs, you could get down to the occupancy for vacant or occupied, or look for out-of-state owners, which that took us down to 22. So let's click go on that. And now that we're down to 22 properties, on the right side, you see my parcel results button. I'm going to click that. I can view these in a grid because I'm not going to go find 22 properties on a map. I'd rather see them in this format where I can sort of eyeball the 22 properties. I can sort by the amount due. I can sort by the building value. So the highest building value is now at top. These column headers are clickable. And so this one has the highest building value out of my range. And so that gives me something to work with here. This auction for Lake, we're going to click on the purchase options here. Again, one of the most important things on the site is where in the world do I go to bid on the property? Since this auction's online, we have links to register and view the list, but we have the date, time, place, location, and the taxes due, which is opening bid. So that gets you everything you need to go register and bid on this property. And lastly, we're going to cut to one other county. I wanted to show you something somewhat smaller, but also in person. So Vanderburgh County, we're going to look at that one actually on the list instead of the map. Now, if I was on my calendar, let's find Vanderburgh. So the options here, if I wanted to view Vanderburgh tax sale in a map, I can see everything in the county or just what's in the auction. If I prefer list, I click the list button and it gives me this opportunity to view just what's in the auction in a list, and that's what I've done here. So we're looking at the oops, let me close that. The 480 properties that are available in Vanderburgh County, and let's sort by the total value. Let's look at so we have a property worth 1.4 million. That's interesting, and let's go with, I don't know, we'll pick a random property here. Let's try this one. Okay, so this is looks like some apartments. The total value $225,000 on this building, and if I want to see where this auction is, again, purchase options. This one takes me to a physical location in Evansville, Indiana. You can still click this button to go register for the sale or view the list. We have that information there. But when it comes time for this auction on September 17th, you will need to attend in person at this location. So that's the point I wanted to make there. And again, if I wanted to go look at more about this property, I can go to the property card with the information and use my research links for that. So, this is showing you how to go deep and wide on these auctions. If it's a very large auction like Lake County, we're gonna need to really cover a lot of ground. So these filters will save you time, and these property reports are going to also save you a ton of time because they go to the county sources for you and get you started on your research. So by the time you're looking at a property, you're not starting from scratch, you're starting with this. And you're able to use this information to either add this property to your list of properties you want to shop for, or rule it out entirely out of consideration. So that's everything, I think, to get you started. That's going to give you what you need to navigate these auctions. If you want to view them in a map, view them on a list, if you need to register for a sale, this gets you pretty far into it. You'll notice more auctions coming up in October. And this is one of many states that we cover. Another auction season that we cover. So I hope this is interesting to you. I hope this is helpful to you. We get a lot of success stories out of Indiana from our users, that people able to acquire property or at least acquire liens there at high interest rate. But I do hear a lot of stories where people are able to take the property to foreclosure, get the tax deed, and either flip it or rent it, depending on what their strategy is. So I think it's a rewarding state. The laws are beneficial to tax investors, and the success stories prove it. So if you like this kind of content, please like our channel and subscribe. Like this video so you can let us know this is the kind of video you want to see more of. And if you want to discuss or pick up a conversation on any of this stuff, we have the YouTube comments board. You can also go to our contact form on the website. We personally respond to all these emails. So this will get an email contact going, and we'll chat about whatever you want to talk about tax investing wise. And check out our other states. We've got a lot going on here. You can invest year-round on our site because we have found auctions in every month of the year in a lot of the states. So I hope this was helpful, and have a great day.